And I'm Elizabeth, and we're the Tovey Twins. Welcome to Twin Talk. Today, we are honored to welcome Dr. Edith Eva Eger to the show. She's a true inspirational figure. She is a Holocaust survivor, best-selling author, and a lecturer who has appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, CNN, and the BBC. We are honored to have her here today.
I am honored to have those precious young ambassadors because you are the future. You are the future. You are the ambassadors for peace and goodwill. And we'll see to it that never, ever, your children, grandchildren will ever experience what I did. So we work together preventively to see to it that we'll never, ever have a genocide. Unfortunately, it's happening even now as we speak, but never in a history of mankind such a scientific and systematic annihilation of people existed. So it's not comparable, unfortunately. It's happening even today.
Well, we have a very important question we'd like to ask all our guests.
Yes.
And that question is,
Yes.
what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh my God, my favorite ice cream. I like chocolate with nuts.
A lot of people said chocolate.
Yes.
Chocolate is very, very popular. Well, you earned your doctorate in psychology. Why did you choose this as a career?
Well, that's a good question because my mother told me, I'm glad you have brains because you have no looks. I had two beautiful sisters, so I became a very erudite teenager, and I began to study psychology. I even read the book by Freud. It's called The Interpretation of Dreams. And then I married a man who was a stutterer, and I wanted to be a good wife, so I began to study. How can I be a good wife and not to finish his sentence? And so that's what led into that. I am very, very, very grateful that I'm still studying. I'm in private practice. I'm 91 years old, and I am hoping that you may be interested also to study human behavior.
Was it common for women to do it when you did?
Oh, well, in my generation, if I told them I want to be a doctor, they probably told me because you couldn't find a husband. Because in my generation, the goal of the girl is to find somebody. The boy has to become somebody, but the girl has to find somebody. Because you're nobody till somebody loves you. That's not true at all, honey. You are beautiful just the way you are, because God doesn't make junk. Don't let anybody to define who you are. You're beautiful just the way you are. Because God is good, and God gives you joy, and God gives you love, and that's what we're born with. We are taught to hate.
Okay, what was your childhood in Hungary like?
My childhood I was the third girl in my family, and my parents really wanted a son, so I was the runt. And I became cross-eyed when I was 3 years old. And my sisters blindfolded me, and they took me for a walk. They didn't want anybody to see how ugly I was. I can sing a song in Hungarian that they said, I'm so ugly, I'm so puny, I'm never going to find a husband. So I grew up very shy, very much alone. I spent a lot of time alone, and maybe God prepared me for what was to come, because I took care of my sister in Auschwitz. My third sister was a child prodigy in violin, and she was the only Jewish girl accepted at the music conservatory, and her Christian professor smuggled her out from the camp and hid her until the end of the war. And it's very important to mention that people were really risking their lives to save others.
Was there any prejudice against Jewish people then?
Yes, and I went to a Jewish school, and when I came out, I was unfortunately spit at and calling me a Christ killer. It was very unfortunate. They blamed the Jewish people for killing Christ, which is not true, because Jesus was a Jew. He was an ordained rabbi. But there was anti-Semitism. Prejudice means to prejudge. So you have to be very careful, especially in school, that you pay attention to the bullies and they call you names, and never take it personally. You're beautiful just the way you are. God only brings beautiful people in the world, and that's who you are. And I hope you get up in the morning, look at the mirror and say, I love me. Self-love is self-care.
Okay. Well, when Hitler came to power, was there concern in your hometown?
When Hitler came to power, I was in Hungary, and Hungary did not join Hitler until 1944. That's when I was taken to Auschwitz, May 1944.
Did anything change?
Everything changed, and when Hitler came to power, I had to wear yellow stars, and I was not allowed to go back to school anymore, and my father was taken to a camp, and everything was unfortunately just very scary. I'm glad that you live now, that you don't have to worry, hopefully, about anything what I have experienced.
Can you talk about Auschwitz?
Yes. I never realized there was such a thing as Auschwitz. But we were put on a cattle car. You can go to Washington and see one of those there. And in the cattle car, it's important that I tell you that my mother hugged me, and she said, I quote, "We don't know where we're going. We don't know what's going to happen. Just remember, no one can take away from you what you put here in your own mind." So I hope you're going to stay in school and pay attention to the teacher rather than playing with your little doohickeys, okay? And think about what you're going to do after school. I hope you stay in the present and stay with the teacher. And I hope you're going to graduate with honors, and you may end up in places like Harvard or Stanford, because in America, the more pieces of paper you pick up, the more doors open up for you. And that's what happened. We arrived in Auschwitz. It is really documented by the Red Cross. And I saw the sign, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free. And I never saw that before. And then we took each other and ended up in a line, and there was this man, and he pointed to the left and pointed to the right, and pointed my mom to go to the left, and my sister and I to the right. And I followed my mother, and he grabbed me and he said, "You're gonna see your mother very soon. She's just gonna take a shower." and threw me on the other side, which meant life. Yeah, and it was very, very sad, because when they took me to a place called Birkenau, where the women went, I asked, when will I see my mother? And she pointed the chimney and said, she's burning there. And I found out that there was a gas chamber, and my mother died, and my father the same day.
How does anyone mentally survive such a terrible situation?
I think that God has helped me to look at the guards, and they were the prisoners, not me. And so I ended up really feeling that they're going to pay for what they're doing now. And I was able to somehow find my power within me. And God has helped me to turn the hatred into pity. I felt sorry for the guards. They could throw me in the ovens any day. They tortured and beat us, but they could never ever murder my spirit, and that's what I bring you today. I actually ended up dancing.
How were you rescued?
I was liberated in Austria, 1945, May 4, by the 71st Infantry. The Americans liberated Austria. Auschwitz was liberated in January. I was taken out of Auschwitz in December 1944, and I became a slave laborer. So I was liberated by the Americans.
When did you come to the United States?
I came to the United States in 1949. We fled the communists from Czechoslovakia, my late husband and I, and my little girl, and we were in Vienna. And then from Vienna, we were able to come to America. And I didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't have $6 to get off the boat. And here I am today, and I'm Dr. Edith Eva Eger. See, I don't have time to hate. I don't live in a past. I'm not a victim. I was victimized. It's what was done to me, but not who I am.
You've written a wonderful book called The Choice.
Yes.
Which won
Yes.
the
I am
National
very,
Jewish
very
Award.
grateful. Thank you. And I owe it to my parents.
Can you tell us what led you to writing this book?
I was told actually by many people that the Holocaust survivors who are famous are all men, and they needed a female voice. And so I was really pushed into it. But I also feel that I owe it to my parents, that people will never forget what happens when good people do bad things.
You write about forgiveness and not being a victim?
Yes, thank you for asking. You see, revenge can give you satisfaction, but it's very, very temporary. I think forgiveness to me means that I give myself a gift, and I don't allow anyone to hold me hostage or prisoner of the past. So it's really, I don't want to carry anymore anything from the past, and I give myself a gift that I actually will not be a hostage or the prisoner of the past. I don't live there. I live in the present. I can only touch you now. Yes. And you're wonderful to be kind and interview me and have a purposeful life.
What do you say to Holocaust deniers?
I think the best thing to do, never deny someone else's truth. And what you want to tell them, that they may want to go to the nearest German consulate, and they're going to tell them. because the German people fessed up. The largest Jewish population today in Europe is in Germany. So don't think that every German are Nazis. The 12 years of Hitler doesn't make, the German people are beautiful. One of the women died, and they asked her, why did she risk her life to save Jewish lives? And her answer was, because my father told me that that's the right thing to do. So if you go to Germany now, if you go to Berlin, you see carved the people's names who lived in that house. So the German people don't try to forget and run away from it. And I respect that very much.
Dr. Eger, can you please tell us about your work with the veterans with PTSD?
Thank you. It's really post-traumatic stress growth and reaction. It's not a disorder. It has to do with having real difficulties adjusting to the present and carrying a lot of unfortunate shame, guilt. I think Auschwitz was a classroom, and I turned it into an opportunity where I discovered all the strength that I have today. So my classroom, the best education, was in Auschwitz.
You recently had a milestone birthday.
I'm 91. I was 90 last September. I'm gonna be 92 this September.
What helps you stay so active?
Oh, I if you don't use it, you lose it. It doesn't fly. I go dancing once a week.
Ooh.
I go swing dancing. I go for the big band, and you can go for the rock and roll, and your music is not better than mine.
Are you involved in any charities?
I speak everywhere to everyone, and I talk about love and joy that we're born with, and how we can really empower each other with our differences.
Yeah. Well, do you have any favorite hobbies?
I love the theater. I like to discuss things. Many times in theaters they ask me to be a discusser, and I like to do that. I will never retire. I don't believe in retirement.
I want to be as active as you when I grow up.
I hope to be a good role model to you. I'm just asking you to please stay in school, and write a good constitution in your family that every behavior doesn't have a punishment, a consequence.
Well, you are.
I hope to be a good role model to you.
You are. If
Thank
you could share one message with the whole world, what would it be?
I would just say, love conquers all.
I think that's a pretty true message.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Doctor.
You're so welcome to be interested in me.
I'm Miriam. And I'm Elizabeth. And we're the Tovey Twins. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Twin Talk. Thank you so much, Dr. Eger.
God bless you too. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Probably my eldest sister might be the president.
Right. All right, so you can be the vice president.